Hey, what is up? What is up, YouTube gaming family? It is IK right here. I'm back at it with another video for y'all today. And yeah, let's get right to it, man. I have a pretty interesting video to break down for you guys today. Wait, hold on. Alright, I'm back. So yeah, I have some pretty interesting content to give for y'all in today's video, but before I do that, shout out to YouTuber United G. I believe he goes by United Gaming. Pretty good YouTuber. I like watching him a lot. Please go check him out. He's always like a pretty fun YouTuber to always listen to from time to time. Well, like as far as watching his particular content, primarily for Battlefield, and I think he does Call of Duty and other games. So yeah, definitely go give him a follow. He's a really good YouTuber. I really like watching his content. So yeah, he's always pretty fun depending on what he likes to do. So yeah, let's get right into it. I have a pretty interesting topic to break down for y'all. So for today's topic, what needs to be talked about in today's particular philosophy of just life in general. I'm going to be talking about um, temporary to full time employment. Like my issue with companies offering temporary full time to permanent full time like employment. So, like yeah, this is going to be a pretty interesting video to break down. But the reason why I even bring this up is simply because there is a massive particular issue with employment agencies that are most likely recruiters that would pretty much like offer a particular deal of which, like, if you're working for a company, like, let's just say if you're working, like, let's just say in IT, or you're working for some sales company, but your job is to be administered through a third party recruiter. And basically what happens is that your third party recruiter gives you a opportunity for you to get paid, X amount of money for the amount of hours that you work, but you only work as like a full-time employee. And I'm gonna make like a different video talking about my issue with, you know, job positions that are 1099 contractor positions, because I think that's like that's like a very risky type of job to kind of like usually go for. So, doing stuff like that is not always particularly guaranteed for, for the proper amount of particular money. But for that video, I'm going to save that to be set aside for a different video to be made for that. So yeah, let's just talk about the current video at hand. So my whole take on the whole temporary to full-time permanent employment thing, this pretty much primarily relates to like my other job that I used to work at for Amazon. And I know that I pretty much explained it within a hour long video, where I pretty much explained like that when I used to work for Amazon usually did it, through a system where they hire you on as a temporary full-time white badge, like a temporary full-time seasonal white badge employee. So therefore, you work for the company until you meet your 90-day calendar mark for you to be eligible for conversion to become to become a full-time blue badge employee. Now, the problem with that is that you have a lot of people that are really stupid that come with the intention to work for Amazon for a short period of time, but those people don't really guarantee themselves to be fully committed to the job. Therefore, companies go out of their way having to hire people based off of a particular premise of, it's a lot cheaper to hire people on as as a temporary agent or a temporary worker. So therefore, if we could save more money on trying to get full-time employees, it's better to have people that can come into the business to work a short period amount of time to become like a short period amount of time to become temporary workers, but we're not going to guarantee them full-time employment because they have to wait in line like everybody else, and it's only a small chance of people that could possibly make it to that particular level, where if they're particularly lucky, then they'll get the opportunity depending on how many how many potential openings that are there for the company. So to me personally, I find that to be really stupid. I find that to be very disingenuous because the thing is that you're telling people that, hey, we're not going to bring you onto the company until we feel like everything is right off of our end to think of you as a plausible employee for the company. Yet you are trying to seek full-time employment. Therefore, a company that's not willing to give you benefits right away, or to at least even tell you that you're at least a permanent employee and all you have to do is just basically work your 90-day period for you to get benefits, to which I find that to be pretty stupid. Like, I think benefits should start within 30 days. Like by time when you start with a company, because my whole issue with that is that, let's just say if you're working for like a massive company, like let's just say if you work for Call of Duty, and Call of Duty told you, we're not going to give you full-time benefits until you hit your 6-month period for you to get benefits. And therefore, if you get hurt on the job or you get sick, the company is not going to cover that for you, and you have to basically figure it out on your own for you to get the care that you need. And I think that's really stupid because it's like, with the issue at hand is that if Call of Duty is going to tell you, like I don't know, let's just say Activision or Treyarch, they decide to tell you that we don't give out full-time benefits until you hit your 6-month mark, so therefore you kind of have to figure everything out until you reach that particular point to get your benefits. I think it's very disingenuous to the worker, in which, granted, I'm not saying this is how a company would operate, but I'm pretty sure there are some really shady businesses out there where they claim to say, like, hey, this is a full-time role, but wink wink, we're not going to tell you all the full details to state that, you actually have to work your 90-day period for you to, quote unquote, get your benefits. But then on top of that, this is a temporary to full-time, opportunity role. So you're having to work 10 times harder for you to kind of expect a position to even be granted to you that's not even guaranteed. So then it's like you're kind of sitting there like a sitting duck to basically be like, okay, what's going to happen if I'm not going to get my opportunity? Do I need to look for another job? But on top of that, if you're telling me that you're not going to give me my permanent spot right away, and I have to wait until the company makes a decision for them to hire you on permanently, then that right there, to me personally, is very disingenuous, and that's not helping nobody. That's not helping the next, that's not incentivizing the next worker that wants to work for a big company that can offer benefits to them. But then on top of that, you're telling them that we just don't want to hire you on permanently because it's like, we're trying to save our money, or to at least have better job security with employees that stay on, which that's never to be guaranteed, because it's like, what if you're playing that political mind game to say that we'll guarantee, like, we will give you a particular permanent spot opening when there are openings like available, but then on top of that, you have to wait longer, where you're not going to get benefits. You have to also wait for, well, it's not about benefits. Like, I mean, benefits do matter when you get hired on with any company, whether, like, if you're working for McDonald's or if you're working for, let's just say, Chase Bank or anywhere else. Usually when you do get your benefits usually start, by at least 90 days, which is usually 3 months. But some other companies, like, I'll say for companies like XPO Logistics, you can get your benefits within at least 30 days. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, like, not every company is particularly operated the same way, but it's like if you do your research to see what company has like a good track record with keeping their employees, the better companies are the ones that give you your benefits on day one, or you get them like you get them at least 30 days, like within starting your particular like employment. So I think that's always like a good thing to do. But the main issue of the matter is that if you have companies that are very shady out there that don't want to actually take risk in hiring permanent employees, and therefore they're having to save more money by trying to just hire people on as a temporary worker. But then on top of that, the more crappier part about it is that they're having to underpay you for the amount of work that you should, and yeah, for the amount of work that you should be paid higher for. I find that to be very stupid and very disingenuous. So like for example, let's just say if you're trying to get into IT and you have a pretty decent entry level IT position that is a full-time temporary to permanent hire position where you have to work at least, let's just say 3 months before you get like evaluated for you to get hired on. But the problem is that you have a third party recruiter handling your employment for you to be quote unquote eligible for you to move on to becoming a permanent employee. And let's just say that you manage to get to that point to your 3 months, to your 90-day period, but the people within higher management, they're not wanting to elevate you, like elevate you to the next step, because you are doing your job, you are performing at a good particular level, but they're not wanting to just give it to you because they know other people that have been like that have been connected with the company. So it's like they're going to choose those people over you. Yet the policy should go that if you are, within, good standing for you to reach that threshold of the 90-day period of the 3 months, you should be granted your full-time opportunity for you to get hired on. So therefore, it's not going to particularly ruin anything out of your long-term employment. So therefore, you can get your benefits and you can get everything started, which that's never to always be the case, because it's like there are really crappy businesses out there that don't even want to be honest with you, and therefore you could be going for other better job opportunities that could pay you 10 times more. But then on top of that, you don't need to be hurdled by this stupid policy of you have to work 90 days, aka 3 months, for you to be eligible to be converted as a full-time permanent employee, but it's not guaranteed that you're going to get it. So you're having to wait 10 times longer. Therefore, that company that's screwing you over, they're not going to grant you the position entirely because you have to wait 10 times longer for you to get your particular role. So let me go back to the whole deal with with yeah, like with with a company like Amazon. You know, for me personally, like I had to wait at least up to, I want to say 11 months to get my blue badge. But during that whole time, Amazon does not pay you for your holiday pay. They don't give you any benefits until you get fully hired on. So if you get hurt on the job, that basically means that Amazon, you know, like basically I'm pretty sure Amazon will be partially liable for it. But if you hurt yourself and you're basically out of insurance and you don't have any insurance unless you get signed up for, yeah, unless you get signed up for government services like how should I say, like Medicaid, that can work for you. But still, it's like, do you really want to go through that whole function of you trying to, battle it out with certain medical. Oh wait, hold on. All right, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, do you really want to battle that out with certain medical institutions that you go to, or certain companies that you do go to, where providers are not going to accept your services or basically your Medicaid due to a particular means of which, you're not being treated for a particular medical issue that you need to get, certain treatment for. So therefore, your Medicaid is not going to always work for you because not every place is going to be very accepting of your insurance, depending on what the Medicaid can particularly cover. Which, for the most part, I mean, Medicaid does a pretty good, decent job with covering medical costs. But again, it's not like a unlimited service for you to like just go out and just basically abuse it and just kind of like be like, oh well, I can get sick one day and just show up to the doctor however many times I want. No, because on top of that, even though that in certain cases, for the most part, you don't really pay for much of like a copay, but in certain cases, if there's certain things that the Medicaid cannot cover through the federal government, then therefore that's like that's going to hold you back in terms of what you're able to go for. So you might pay for extra copays, depending on what the particular treatment that you're going for can really cover. But more so, that's besides like the point. Like businesses that offer these roles that are like temporary to permanent positions are very disingenuous, and I think it's very weird that companies go out of their way doing this because one, they're trying to save money, but two, they're playing the stupid game of let's just screw people over so therefore we could save money on people having to get fired or to quit. So therefore it's going to disincentivize the worker that wants to expand their skills with that company because one, they're trying to get paid more, but two, the businesses alone that are doing this, they're not keeping any employees with the company any further. So that means that you're having to waste more time with a company that's not going to keep you as a permanent employee. So therefore you're kind of sitting there like a sitting duck of like what's going to happen if I don't get my permanent position of employment. And the thing is that you have to basically wait it out like a sitting duck and be lucky if the company wants to move your employment to becoming a full-time permanent employee. Because for me personally, like I've had jobs where I have been on the short end of the stick where I've done temporary to permanent full-time opportunities where like obviously with like a job like Amazon, I didn't get paid for holidays. I basically had to work on certain days to kind of make up for my hours. And the good thing with Amazon is that you could go through your Amazon A to Z app, and you could add shifts onto your particular app for you to make up for those particular hours. But the thing is that who wants to be doing that, especially on their days off? And then on top of that, you're having to waste more time and money to go out to your job. And then on top of that, Amazon is not really good of a company to kind of offer you good shifts. So it's like you kind of have to take something that's kind of worth doing, doing that particular means. So, I mean, overall, I think it's better for companies to just give you permanent positions and hire people based off of skill and merit, and not just hire people because they're just a number. And you could just take advantage of those people to say, yeah, just come on to the team. And even though if it's through a recruitment agency or through the company alone, we'll just bring you on to the company, but you have to wait your 90-day period for you to be eligible to become a full-time permanent employee, but it's not guaranteed that you're going to get it. So you're basically waiting, that time frame until you even get selected to become a full-time permanent employee. So I find that to be very disingenuous. And the thing is that if you guys are wanting to look for good jobs, personally for me, it would be best to go with like a company that can probably pay you at least a good solid 20 to $21 per hour. Obviously with like your average young American that's usually working to start out, usually for the most part, if you can try to score for like a $15 to $16 per hour job, go for that. Go for that, work your way up. And then if you want to like let's just say go for like a good high level position, let's just say you want to work in a field like the clerical field. You can work for, let's just say, law firms, becoming a office assistant, or you could work for financial documentation firms where let's just say if you work for some accounting, finance. Oh yeah, wait, hold on, let me pause. All right, I'm back. So yeah, back to what I was saying. You can work for any company of that particular manner that can give you that good experience where let's just say if they pay you like a solid like $18 to $20 per hour. That's good to start out, as a 17-year-old or at least a 18-year-old kid. But if you're doing something like obviously like the standard job that most Americans usually go for, which is sales sales and retail at like clothing stores or usually restaurants, those jobs usually pay at least a good solid 15 to maybe borderline $16 per hour. So, depending on how much that they do go, but those are decent. It's not the best, but it's decent. So, I would say if you do want to build your experience and you do want to go for better negotiations for jobs, go for companies that do pay well, especially at a clerical level, or let's just say if you want to work in, let's just say, I don't know, sales, obviously companies like Spectrum and all those other companies offer really good roles, but it's all about just putting yourself out there and putting yourself at a high level to get to a higher point of you being more marketable. So I think that's the biggest flaw that not a lot of people do is that you have to interview very well with employers, and also when you're talking with employers, always ask like, okay, for this role, if this is a permanent role, how soon would I get my benefits? And then also ask about, will you get holiday pay? That's going to be time and a half, and are there any overtime opportunities offered through your company, and what's the policy on that for you to take advantage of that? Because at least that way, that shows to employers that you're eager to know about your position, and it's better to ask questions about the role, so therefore they know that you know what you're going to be doing to take advantage of those opportunities. So therefore, they don't ever have to try to hide something behind your back, and therefore you're already in a good spot to know what you need to do. So to me personally, I've been through those particular jobs where I thought that it looked good on paper, but then when you actually think about it, it's actually not good. So I mean, I was like young back then when I was like a teenager, but it's like if you work at like those, let's just say warehouse, logistics type of jobs that kind of offer like shady business opportunities for you to like work as like a full-time employee, but you're getting like a contracted role, so you're not really guaranteed a particular role. So you have to basically wait until you even get your opportunity. That's pretty messed up and that's pretty stupid. Like, I mean, especially even in the restaurant industry, especially when you're working as like a full-time dishwasher, or let's just say like a busboy, and you're trying to get like your full-time benefits, but then they're telling you, oh, you have to work like a full year for you to get like your benefits to be eligible. Nah, screw that shit, man. Don't do that. Find jobs that are going to pay you well, and find companies that are going to give you a permanent position right away. Because there are some really stupid people out there that really think like that, oh, well, you know what? Like, you should just take basically whatever opportunity that's given and just work that out and just make basically whatever money that you can get and just go off of there. And then on top of that, you have like those really dumb people that will say you have to be loyal to your job for you to like move on to another job. So if you're working for like a company that you don't like, and you've only been there for like 2 to 3 months, you shouldn't leave that company. You should at least leave once you've been there for at least a full year, which I think that's really stupid. Don't do that. If you guys really want to go for good opportunities, go for companies that are going to pay you well. And if you see a good opportunity out there where you're like, hey, this job is not paying me enough money, and I don't care about what they're going to say to me, but more so, let's just say if a job's out there where they're going to offer you $50,000 a year, and let's just say you're doing like an office, like assistant clerical position, or anything that you may like, depending on what type of job that you want to go for, then go for it. There are plenty of great opportunities out there. And then, but the stakes are so high out there, as long as you network with those employers and always put yourself out there to be at a higher particular level, depending on what you want to do. So, yeah, that's pretty much like my whole deal with temporary to permanent job opening positions. Don't fall for those type of companies that try to scam you over that. Negotiate very well with employers to ask them about, with the opportunity alone, and go for permanent only positions for full-time opportunities. Don't go for no, contracting roles or third-party recruitment agency roles where they're trying to tell you you have to work X amount of months for something for you to be like a temporary to full-time employee. So yeah, that's my whole take on that. I hope you guys enjoy that. And yeah, I'm definitely going to come out with like another video talking about the whole 1099 situation. So I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Have a great day. And this is KRAD7435 signing off. All right, I'll see you guys. Bye.